It's my pleasure to introduce PureGold Mining. I am Darren LeBrenz, President and CEO, and PureGold Mining, as you can see on the presentation screen, is North America's newest gold producer with first gold pour in December of last year. And so it's a very exciting time for PureGold, a time of transition as we move from, rapidly from exploration stage company through development into operations. And I just want to kind of state right at the outset here that this really is just the beginning. We're very much focused on growth. We've laid out a fairly ambitious growth strategy that looks to double production over the next 3 to 5 years. And so as I walk through the presentation, I want to leave you with some real fundamental understanding of the PureGold story. We're in Red Lake. It's a storied district with 100 years of mining, high-grade gold production. This deposit has real size. And I think that'll be demonstrated as we walk through the presentation, and that scale leads to real opportunities for growth. So with that introduction, I'll jump right in. So again, it is very much a growth story. While we've laid out a first, phase one mine, if you will, that has a 12-year mine life, we've poured first gold. We're moving towards commercial production, which we anticipate before the end of this quarter. It really is very much about growth, and so I kind of want to walk you through that the stages of growth as we see them for the PureGold mine in Red Lake, Ontario. So again, we're in Red Lake, and as I said, Red Lake has a very long history of high-grade gold mining with over 100 years of continuous production. There's been over 30 million ounces of gold that's produced in Red Lake over the course of that 100-year period, and it's some of the highest grade gold mining that's occurred in North America, with an average head grade of approximately 16 grams per ton, as you can see on the screen here. That translates into over $50 billion of gold produced over that 100 years, using metal prices very close to today. One thing that you typically see in these types of deposits, and this is around the world, is they are long life. They're typically underground mines, high grade, and they tend to have very, very deep roots. And you can see that in the Red Lake area with the Red Lake mine operation itself, now mining at a depth of between 2.5 kilometers and 3 kilometers below the Earth's surface. So typically long strike extents, high grade, and very deep roots. Today, there's 2 operating mines, one owned by Evolution Mining to the north of us, called the Red Lake Mine, and our own PureGold mine, which is located on the south end of the camp. And geologically, when you look at this map, we've highlighted a couple of trends with red dashed lines, and they're virtually identical. And I think that's something I want to carry as an understanding as we walk through this. They both straddle the boundary between the darker green rocks here, which we call the Bomber assemblage, that hosts 95% of the 30 million ounces that have come out of Red Lake. And those contact between the dark green and the lighter green is an important conduit for the fluids that deposited the gold deposits across the Red Lake area. And so we straddle the same contact. Our rocks are the same age. The style of mineralization is very similar, and really they are very, very similar terrains and as such similar deposits. So this really lays out the phase growth strategy in kind of a easy formatted way to read the various phases. Phase one really was a snapshot. It was the feasibility study. It was completed in February of 2019. That feasibility study laid out a 12-year mine life, design of about 80,000 ounces a year, of course, over the course of that 12 years, with a mill throughput rate of 800 tons per day. We do see growth through that, and I'll show that here as we walk through, with each successive year over the first 5 years showing improved production, improved grade, and lowering all-in sustaining costs. As we started to build out our phase one mine, we recognized opportunities to demonstrate near-term growth, and so that's laid out here as phase two. These really are optimizations of the initial mine, with an opportunity here to push throughput from the underground and push more ore through the mill. And to that end, we've made some pretty significant changes to the phase one feasibility mine plan. In the underground, we've opened up or widened the ramp openings that we're using to access the ore body. We've added a second ramp, and so this is new as part of phase 2. This east ramp, as we call it, allows us to access the northeast part of the ore body much earlier than planned in the feasibility study. And being driven at 5 meters by 5 meters allows an opportunity to draw more material. You can almost see it as a second mining center, again allowing us to push the underground and draw more tons. In the mill, which is performing very well, we saw an opportunity to move from 800 tons per day to 1,000 tons per day with a very limited amount of capital. Effectively, all we're doing here is replacing some screens within part of the circuit, the CIP circuit. We're putting a new trommel screen on the back end of the SAG mill, and we believe that those additions will allow us to push above 800 tons per day. And so we have a very near-term opportunity here to grow our production by up to 25% through the optimizations that we've completed, or that we are completing, in both the underground and within the mill. Phase 3 is looking at a more, a larger expansion. This is drawing in the satellite deposits discoveries that we've made over the last 3 to 5 years, and looking to do so through an expansion of the plant. And really, over the course of phase 1 through phase 3, we're targeting a doubling of production over the next 3 to 5 years. Finally, I do want to emphasize that, beyond that, those 3 phases are really designed around what we already know, what we've already discovered. But across the 7-kilometer long system that we've defined through drilling to date, to depth, we believe there's a tremendous opportunity here for future growth, and really that is the opportunity to dream big. That really lays out that game-changing exploration potential, things that we've seen in the resources and reserves to date, but we see a real opportunity for continued discovery, and that is an important part of our story as well. So I do want to just kind of lay out the next part of our plan here, which really talking about the ramp up to commercial production. But before I do so, I really want to emphasize that we are just getting started here. As I said, we've got gold pour that occurred in December, commercial production, which we are targeting towards the end of Q2, and really at the end of the day, we've laid out a 12-year mine life, but we see ourselves as being here, developing a multi-generational company, one that'll be here for decades. And we've got our mission here really is to have a net positive impact on our people, on the community, for our shareholders, and at the end of the day for the environment, and do so over decades. So as I say here, we really are here for a long time. So these are the numbers from the phase 1 mine, and I've talked about some of these. It's a 12-year mine life. We have a 1 million ounce reserves at 9 grams per ton. This comes from a broader 2.1 million ounce indicated resource at about 9 grams. There's a further 500,000 ounces of inferred material. So you can see there are significant resources outside of the mineral reserves, and that's part of the phase 3 expansion, when we look to the future expansion of the mill and drawing in some of those satellite discoveries and some of the down dip potential inferred resources that we see within the deposit itself. Built into the deposit, there is a natural growth profile. We start out fairly light from a grade and production profile, but you can see here over the first 5 years, bottom left, we have an annualized growth of production of 21%. So growing production 21% year over year for the first 5 years. And that's really driven by grade as we transition from 6 to 7 grams year 1 into 13.7 grams by year 5. That's being driven by the grade profile of the deposit. So simply put, as we move deeper in the mine, we start to see higher and higher grades, and this is really culminates in the 8 zone, which I'll touch on later, which is the highest grade component of our mineral resource. That increasing grade, increasing production profile drives a reduction in all-in sustaining costs, and so from year 1 to year 5, we'll see a 44% reduction in all-in sustaining costs, and that really is driven by the grade profile. This is all for the phase 1 mine. This does not take into account any kind of changes or phase 2 optimizations. It really is just a straight reflection of the feasibility study, and so we do see an opportunity to grow production as we've talked about through the phase strategy that we've laid out. So I talked a little bit about the ramp up that we're going through right now on site. We started production late last year with our first gold pour on December 29th, and we've been pouring gold every week since that time. The mill is performing beautifully. We can see on the left-hand side the throughput as we started in January with a lower throughput as we were ironing out the kinks as you do in a startup. We brought it up to in March a peak production of just shy of 900 tons per day. So demonstrating that we can achieve the design throughput for the mill. And over the course of May, we're operating about a 500 to 600 ton per day rate, and we're ramping up towards 800 tons per day as we speak, with potential to exceed that in the second half. Really, the mill now has been optimized to what we're delivering from the underground, and we're ramping them up in concert towards that nameplate capacity. Recoveries have been absolutely fantastic. We can see on the right-hand side that in April we achieved 97.3% recovery, and this really isn't a surprise to us. It's from a geological or metallurgical perspective, it is a very simple deposit. We do see a lot of free gold, and so as such, it recovers very well. In fact, within our mill, we have a gravity gold, which takes advantage of the free nature of the gold, and we do recover about 50% of the gold in our gravity circuit. So that really reflects back on those strong recoveries and the strong performance that we're seeing in the mill itself. With the mill ramped up to where we expect it to be, the focus over Q2 has been ramping up the mine. So the underground, and you can see some of that laid out on the screen here. From a development heading perspective, which really provides the opportunity for flexibility to drive the delivery of high-grade material from underground. We've gone from the end of Q1, 12 active headings, 17 in May, and by the end of this quarter, we're looking at about 26 active headings. And again, that gives you real flexibility and allows you to efficiently deliver high grade from the underground. We are currently mining in a variety of different methodologies. So we have active long hole mining that is underway. We have today 2 mechanized cut and fill stopes they're currently active, and we've got a number of development headings as we continue to build out and advance future long hole stopes or cut and fill stopes, and so that is progressing quite well. We are actively mining ore from both the main ramp and the east ramp now, and that again gives us additional flexibility, and that's translated across in grade as our focus in Q1 was ramping up the mill and demonstrating that we could reach nameplate capacity. We're putting through a combination effectively of high grade from underground and low grade pre-production development stockpiles that translated in a grade of around 3 grams per ton. April we pushed to 4.3. By mid-May we're at 6.3, and we're targeting 60 to 70,000 tons over a 3-month period at a grade of 6 to 7 grams. So that kind of gives you a snapshot of where we're going, and that really reflects upon the opening up of the underground. Looking at share price performance, you can see a graph here, and really this reflects the phase that we're in. As we constructed the mine and announced first gold pour, we entered the ramp up phase, and with the ramp up occurring over the first half of the year, we've seen the share price decline. I really think this is a real opportunity as we reach or come close towards commercial production. And as I've laid out, this is a mine that shows growth in its grade profile as we move deeper down. That'll reflect in the production profile, or reflect in the costs as we move forward. We do see near-term opportunities for growth here with the improvements in the mill that we're implementing in early Q3. And as we continue to open up the underground and drive that flexibility with active development headings, we see that the underground growing to match the improved production through the mill. And so that'll give us that real near-term organic growth from within the existing reserves. Longer term, as we talked about, we are driving towards the staged expansion and looking for effectively a doubling production over the next 3 to 5 years. So I think this really is a good entry point as we kind of round out the ramp up period. This just touches on what we're doing in the mill itself. These interstage screens within the CIP circuit shown in the top right, and the SAG mill trommel screen, that removes the bottleneck that we see to push above 800 tons per day. We're getting very good performance out of our grinding circuit, and the gravity circuit is performing well. The leach tanks and the CIP circuit are sufficient to push through more material. So with those bottlenecks addressed in Q3, we do see the potential here to move continuously above 800 tons per day. Underground, I've talked about some of the initiatives to drive phase 2 expansion with the east ramp shown here in yellow. What we're showing here in blue is development shown in, or development completed in 2020. The yellow is planned development for 2021. You can see the 2 ramps providing opportunities to draw material from 2 centers. And then life of mine, you can see the ramp development over the course of 12 years shown in gray. We are accelerating our main ramp. We raised $17.25 million in flow-through funding that is earmarked entirely for capital development, and so that'll allow us to drive that ramp, and that really provides again an opportunity to open up the mine, to get deeper faster, to access some of that high-grade material, to accelerate the mine plan, if you will, and ultimately get us to our high-grade 8 zone, which is shown at the bottom of the screen here, quicker. To drive that high grade, high production part of the resource and reserves. So I want to touch a little bit about phase 3 now. What you're looking at here is a map showing, you know, some potential future development at some of our satellite deposits, and so they're labeled here as Fork, Wedge, Russet South. These are discoveries that we've made over the last several years. These are part of our existing resource. And they are open for expansion. We've continued to drill them since the resources first stated in 2019. We do intend to recommence technical studies to look at these as part of a phase 3 expansion. And so you can conceptually see the thinking here is we've got a centralized milling operation. We've got the phase 1, phase 2 mine that is currently in operation, and in 3 to 5 years, we're drawing in Russet, Fork, and Wedge resources. They're separate mining centers. That material is being hauled back to the existing milling facility and done through a plant expansion. So we do have significant opportunities here within the resources we've already discovered. But you know, again, I want to draw us back to where we are. We're in Red Lake, Ontario, 30 million ounces of historic high-grade gold production. We own 47 square kilometers of prime Red Lake real estate, and we see a real opportunity here for future discovery, and some of that is laid out here with some of the areas that we've been drilling over the course of the last 6 months. Things like Gap, Treasure Box, Number 1 Vein, Durlac. These are not part of our current resources, but we've made significant inroads here towards you know, the potential for future discovery with some of the results that we've put out. Wedge itself is on the south end of our 7-kilometer trend that we have laid out here from Durlac through the main mine, the Fork deposit, the Wedge deposits, and these are all part of the same mineral system. Wedge continues to grow, and earlier this year we announced a 500-meter step out with 16.6 grams over 5 meters, continuing to highlight the potential of that particular zone. And so what I'm doing here is I want to really lay out that the Red Lake nature, or you know, the real dream big opportunity that we see at the PureGold mine, and I'm doing so by highlighting the 2 operating mines here side by side. On the right hand side, we can see the Red Lake mine operation. That Red Lake mine operation is it's again owned by Evolution Mining. It was previously Placer Gold Corp and transacted through to Evolution. Mining there has been continuous for 7.5 decades, starting in 1945. And over the course of that time, they've mined from surface down to a depth of 2.5 kilometers, and it continues to grow. On the left-hand side, we've got our own PureGold mine, and what we see here is a similar footprint at surface. But one of the key differences, obviously, is that our deposit today is defined from surface down to a depth of about 1,200 meters. So only about half of the depth of the Red Lake mine operation on the right. But having said that, as we show in the next image here, we have a strong belief or conviction that our deposit itself will continue to persist to depth. And why is that? Well, first of all, it's the nature of these deposits. They do typically have very deep roots, but that wouldn't be enough on its own. What we do have there shown on the screen is a drill hole, AD 1101. intersects the deposit at 2.1 kilometer depth. Importantly, when you look at the rock, it's identical in every respect. It's got the same alteration, the same style of mineralization, returned about a half ounce over 2 meters. It is part of the deposit, and that gives us that real high degree of confidence that our mine will continue to persist to depth, much like the Red Lake mine operation. And to me, this is the real prize. When you look at the top 1,200 meters, there's a historic mine on our property that produced 2.5 million ounces. We've got 2.1 million ounces in indicated resource, 0.5 million ounces of inferred, all in that top 1,200 meters. And so, you can do the math and think about the next kilometer, and that potential is very real for significant growth in resources and opportunities to continue to mine for a very long time. Importantly, what you can see again on the right-hand side is what was called the HGZ, the high-grade zone discovery at the Red Lake mine operation. This was made by Goldcorp in the mid-1990s, and that really was a disruptive, transformative discovery for Goldcorp. It was a discovery that really took Goldcorp on a trajectory from a single asset mining company producing 50,000 ounces per year in the Red Lake area up to at its peak a multi-billion-dollar company with operations around the world, and that was driven by the strong cash flow out of that high-grade zone discovery. It starts where the red circle is shown here, and then persists down to depth along to the deepest part of the mine. Over the course of the last 20 years, it's produced about 6 million ounces at a grade that well exceeds an ounce per ton, and so that's a truly exciting part of the Red Lake history, if you will. Across on the left-hand side, we have something that we call the 8 zone. And the 8 zone is part of the deposit that we're extremely excited about. You can see another version of the long section here showing where the 8 zone sits. Here I've shown every drill hole that intercepts our deposit along that trend, and it's color-coded by grade, with the pink dots being 10 grams per ton or higher. The 8 zone sits in the same geologic environment as that high-grade zone. It's in the footwall of the main deposit. It's along a folded mafic, ultramafic contact, much the same as the high-grade zone. And you can see some of the drill hole results that have come out of that zone historically. 4.3 meters at 466 grams per ton, 5.5 at 342, 8.2 at 120. I mean, these are tremendous results that I think really highlight the importance of this particular zone. That's translated into a current indicated resource of 301,000 ounces at a grade of 20.5 grams per ton. And importantly, it's completely open for expansion. You can see that there's virtually no drilling above it, and there is no drilling below the 8 zone. And so we're really excited about getting underground and testing the 8 zone. To that end, we talked about accelerating the main ramp. By the end of this year, we believe we'll be deep enough to set up an exploration heading to start doing the first initial testing from underground of the 8 zone, all in advance of mining of that important zone, which we are also trying to accelerate through our ramp development. So that potential for down plunge extension over the next kilometer plus the highlights of things like the 8 zone are part of that real future growth story that have us truly excited. So you can see 2021 is a year that continues to be full of catalysts. We are, as I said, ramping up the underground here towards commercial production by the end of this quarter. Ongoing exploration, both underground to grow our resources and reserves in close proximity to our existing development, as well as later targeting of the 8 zone from underground is an important part of the story as we move through this year. From a surface perspective, we've been actively drilling, growing some of our satellite discoveries, and toward the end of this year, we look to resume that drilling and really start to build out that longer-term growth potential. Also in the near term, as we move into Q3, you can look forward to some of the implementation of the operational improvements within the mill to drive that potential to push above 800 tons per day. And finally, we are looking to update our mineral resource. Geological modeling is ongoing, and that is expected to come out in Q3. So you can look forward to an update to our mineral resource, which will incorporate not just the mine itself, but also the satellite discoveries where we've completed additional drilling since the last update of our mineral resources. So as you can see through the slides that we've walked through in the introduction to PureGold Mine, we're really in an exciting phase of our development. We've got first gold transition into operations. We're approaching commercial production. We've got an inherent growth profile in the next 5 years of our operation through a grade improvement as we move to depth and continue to open up the underground. We've got near-term plans to show more significant growth through our phase 3 expansion, incorporating the satellite deposits. And then longer term, we've got that real pronounced depth potential across 7 kilometers of strike extent of our mineral system, and the opportunity for disruptive, transformative discovery through zones like the 8 Zone, which really are in a class of their own. This we're all doing in the backdrop of the Red Lake mine operations in the Red Lake area. Again, we have a real commitment to the communities that we work in and to the environment. We're in a relatively unique position here that this is a brownfield site. There's a historic mining operation on our ground that operated for 36 years, and we really are in a position to improve the environment over that legacy mine. And to that end, we've made significant improvements through the reclamation of some of those historic structures, improvements to the tailings management facility, implementation of a brand new water treatment plant designed to improve the waters, and all of that work is really designed to, at the end of the day, to improve the environment and leave it as it was prior to the mining in the area. So really are committed to building a better mine. There are significant improvements over the course of the mine that we'll look to implement, including the implementation of a electric fleet underground to transition from diesel equipment through our trucks and scoops into electric equipment, which will reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. And again, all that's really designed to improve the environment. From a sustainability and community presence perspective, we've got a strong agreement with First Nations. It establishes them as partners in the project, and we're really working with the communities here to be a good corporate partner within the Red Lake area. First Nations themselves, Laxwil and Wabascang, we're really excited to be working with them to provide opportunities for education and training, job opportunities, contracting opportunities, and to welcome them as shareholders in PureGold and with financial participation in the mine itself. We do have some key strategic shareholders that I'd like to highlight here. That really is a real strong statement of support for the work that we've done and the team in place here. Eric Sprott is a 12% shareholder. 2 senior producers, AngloGold Ashanti and Newmont, are shareholders. AngloGold holds about 15% of the issued and outstanding PureGold shares, and Newmont's in, as far as we can tell, is in around that 3% range. So a real strong vote of affirmation and support from these 3 titans or producers. The team we have in place is, I would say, one of the strongest with respect to understanding Red Lake geology. Myself, I was chief geologist at the Campbell mine, part of the Red Lake mine operations, and in the mid-1990s, and that's that experience resonates through the board and management team. Many of us have deep Red Lake experience, and that translates into that strong understanding. The operational team is really come together nicely, and we've got about 300 employees engaged now at the PureGold mine. So finally, today we sit with about 23 million in cash in place. We've got $7.5 million US of undrawn debt, and we're coming towards commercial production, so we're in a fairly good position as we start that growth path that I've laid out, and you can see the universe of coverage that we have across the right-hand side. So with that, in conclusion, we're moving into commercial production. We've got a strong organic growth that we'll see over the next 3 to 4 years as we continue to push that grade profile, as we move downward, as we implement our phase 2 optimizations to drive us above 800 tons per day. Longer term, we're really targeting that material enhancement or expansion through the implementation of our satellite deposits and continued exploration to really flush out that potential across the 47 square kilometers that we hold in Red Lake. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Thank you so much, Darren. That was a great presentation. A lot of highlights to cover. We do have some wonderful questions lined up here. I'm going to start off with a very clear question, which says, can you discuss the 8 Zone a little more, and what do those high grades do for the company?
Yeah, the 8 zone, I mean, you can sense my enthusiasm and excitement as I was talking about the 8 zone. It really does remind me of some of the high-grade discoveries that, we've seen around the world in brownfield sites. The Red Lake mine itself is a classic example. As I described, that high-grade zone discovery took it from, Goldcorp from a 50,000 ounce producer in Red Lake to 600,000 ounces per year. And that was done without changing the mill. That was simply by the grade that they saw in the high-grade zone. We look at the 8 zone and where it sits, the nature of it sitting along contact of, I call it a mafic or ultramafic contact. It's the same geological environment as the high grade zone. It's open for expansion. The drill holes that we showed, that provides an opportunity for growth in grade, lower costs, and the fact that it's open for expansion just really excites me. So it's a tremendous opportunity for PureGold and our shareholders.
Terrific. I can hear the enthusiasm. Thank you for that. Next question would be, what type of production numbers could we be looking at here with combined production from both above and underground, and expanded mill fed by 2 ramps and rehabilitated shaft?
Yeah, so when we look at the various phases that I've laid out, phase 1 mine feasibility study, the real driver there was to get into production, to keep capital low. We saw an immediate opportunity to expand or realize some organic growth through relatively minor changes to the mine plan and to the mill itself. And so we are implementing those. We added a second ramp. We've increased the size of our ramp openings. We've got a shaft that's being rehabilitated as we speak. And that really allows you to think about it as 3 separate areas to draw material from. The main ramp, the east ramp, skipping up the shaft itself. And that allows you to expand production from underground. That expansion now can be brought into a mill where, through minor additions, change of screens, we think we can push up to 1,000 tons per day. And so where we had a phase 1 mine plan that had, peak production of 125,000 ounces a year, 12-year mine life, we see an opportunity to accelerate that 25% improvement through some of these additions that really will translate into a near-term improvement in production profile and unit cost reductions.
Great, thank you for that. Another technical question we have here is around, is surface exploration still paused?
Surface exploration right now is paused. We're focused on the underground, where we have at any given time 2 to 3 rigs operating. We do have a budget laid out for surface exploration, and we will be resuming it after we reach commercial production. So you can anticipate that resuming later in the year.
Okay, great. Thank you, Darren. Also a question here, what has been PureGold Mining's secret to finding reserves and resources where others could not?
I think one of the key things here really is focus. When we acquired this project, we assembled a team that, really, as I stated earlier, has tremendous Red Lake experience. Many of us cut our teeth in the Red Lake area, and so we were able to apply that experience working at the Red Lake mine operation, exploring in the camp, and really bring modern thinking, modern techniques onto the property, and take a holistic approach. So step back, look at the whole project area, and try and tie it all together. That understanding drove a real understanding of what was controlling mineralization at the historic mine. We were able to apply that understanding to trace the structures across the footprint of our project, and it translated into discoveries at Fork, at Wedge, at Russet South, and again, I think that growth is really just beginning.
Great to hear that. Thank you for that. Another question here from Nick. In one of your latest reports, you mentioned exploring acquisitions. Can you expand on what you're looking for and any potential? And can we expect any new drill results over the coming weeks and months?
Yeah, so our focus obviously is on the operation itself right now. Now, obviously, we keep a close eye on what's happening in the Red Lake area, and we'll continue to do so. When I look at PureGold moving forward, we've got such a tremendous growth platform in front of us with respect to the immediate improvements on the underground and the mine, the phase 3 expansion through incorporation of our satellite deposits, the continued exploration at depth across the 7-kilometer trend. That will be the focus, but obviously we're going to continue to look at other opportunities. And at the end of the day, we're here to grow PureGold, to grow value for shareholders, and do it in the most capital efficient manner. So we will continue to do that.
Great, thank you for that. Another question here: can you talk about what kind of positive impact positive mill recoveries can have on a project?
Well, we all know it can go wrong if you don't get recoveries. I mean, you're losing gold, and we've seen other operations where gold can get locked up in various other minerals, be it pyrite or otherwise, and it becomes very, very problematic because at the end of the day, gold is your revenue, and so if you're losing 10% through your recovery, you're going to lose 10% of your revenue. The ability to achieve 97+% recovery means that it's not a worry for us. We're able to really process and pour the gold that we pull out of the underground, and so it just drives stronger revenue profiles and removes that risk out of the mining project.
Great to hear. Another technical question here, Darren: is PureGold on a power grid, and also what's the infrastructure like nearby?
We're in the community of Red Lake. This is a very strong mining community with about 4,000 to 5,000 residents. 100 years of mining, as I've talked about. So there's the long experience where you've got individuals whose fathers and grandfathers have worked at the mines. We certainly benefit from that. We also benefit from being close to service providers, and being on the grid itself. And so we are in the Ontario grid. Most of the power is derived from the Ear Falls hydroelectric station there, so it's hydroelectric power, so very clean power. Okay. And that gives us the capacity to keep our power costs lower, but also drive again the opportunity for expansion as well.
Great, thank you for that. Another question here from Brian: do you expect commercialization by July the 1st?
We're certainly targeting commercial production by the end of this quarter.
Okay, great to know that. Thank you. In terms of other exploration in the area, what drew you first to Red Lake?
I think it's our experience. I stepped back to myself when I was a younger version of myself, mid-1990s, came across to the Red Lake area, initially as a beat geologist underground at the Red Lake mine, and transitioned into chief geologist. And at the time, I don't think I fully appreciated how important grade was. And I like to talk about various stories. At the time, the Campbell mine where I worked, one half of the Red Lake mine operation was owned by Placer Dome. It was one of a dozen or so operations around the world, and it was a real cash generator. When Placer was having a tough quarter, they would call up Campbell Mine and say, "Hey, can you go mine something out of the L zone?" And it would have an impact on a multinational corporation from a cash flow perspective. And so grade really is important. The opportunity to surgically mine, to keep your footprint low, for that disruptive potential of discovery, all of that I find really exciting. And so that drew us back collectively into the Red Lake area.
Great, thank you for that. I hear your passion for the industry as well, which is always a good sign. One of the things I love about these seminars, these webinars, are the access to what happens inside the boardroom of a company. So for those of us outside of PureGold mining, what's being talked about day to day, week to week right now, but the most exciting opportunities coming down the pipe?
I think what I really like about the PureGold board and management team is very engaged. And so, there's two types of boards. Some are fairly passive, and there's some boards that are very active. And I would say that we have a very active board, and a board with tremendous skill sets. You look at, we've pretty much addressed everything through capital markets expertise, strong strategic thinking, discovery, transaction, merger history, engineering, technical expertise. And so, on a day-to-day basis, the board is engaged. We're talking about how we can improve, how we can grow, and that growth is, again, it's organic, but keeping a finger on the pulse of the industry as well, and looking for opportunities outside of PureGold as well. So it's fantastic to work with a group of individuals that I do.
Fantastic. It's always great to hear the inside view of who the team is and what they're up to. I always go to this question often, Darren, around those of us that are new investors when it comes to the experience of dabbling in the world of gold in that realm. If you were to meet somebody in a coffee shop who has never dabbled in this territory at all, how do you share about the industry and the potential of what's happening in that realm?
Yeah, it's a really exciting industry, and clearly I've been in it for my entire 30-year career, and I think one of the things is you gotta look to people. I've talked about our board, I've talked about our management team. People develop a track record, and you can see in our board, and people say this a lot, but we really do have a strong track record of generating value for shareholders. I think that's important. The skill sets that we bring to the team. We've done it before. We've made discoveries in Red Lake. Collectively, we've discovered mines, we've built mines, we've operated mines. I think that's all really important. Then you want to look at the other parts of the risk profile. Where's the project located? Well, obviously being in Canada, being in Red Lake, this is an area that where mining is well understood, it's embraced, and has a strong regulatory environment. I think that's really important. Grade gives you opportunity. It was something that we sought out, the ability to drive that strong, production, discovery potential, lower costs through high grade. I think that's extremely important. And then understanding where you're at in the cycle. I think we've really been counter-cyclical. We were active when I would say it was a very tough time in the industry, tough to raise money. We were able to do so because of the team and the location. We were actively discovering new deposits on our property, growing the resources. We brought it into production when gold was in a bit of a lull. And I frankly think we've timed it perfectly. As we poured our first gold was pushing $2,000 an ounce, 2,300 Canadian, and that generates real opportunities for growth as well. So you got to know the people, the location, and that's a good part of the success right there. And then get timing right at the end of the day.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. I'd like to turn focus a little bit. A lot of us are looking to invest in a conscious way today, Darren, and you mentioned quite beautifully about the interaction with First Nations. And there's an ecosystem, there's an infrastructure and a connection to community. Can you tell me a little bit about the approach of the company working, with that community, and how that's moved the company forward and also brought benefit to the community?
Yeah, it's a really unique, again, situation in that Red Lake does have such a long history. There's 100 years of production in the area. It's in a community of 4,000 to 5,000 individuals, as I said, and these individuals, for the most part, draw their lifeblood out of the mining industry. So it's, from that perspective, it's well embraced to begin with. But when we acquired the project, one of the first things we did was go out and meet with Grand Council. So this is the Anishinaabe people in Northwestern Ontario, to ask them for guidance for who we should be communicating with. We've been fairly proactive on that front, culminated in a project agreement in 2019 that I'm quite proud of. It really emphasizes training initiatives, education initiatives, support for environmental monitoring, job opportunities, contracting opportunities, and at the end of the day, establish them as shareholders and partners in the projects. And I think that's really important. From a community perspective, we're doing our best to be transparent about the work that we're doing, communicating, and making sure that we preserve the values of the community while we embark on our own growth initiatives.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. I have a question from Greg on more on the business side. You have a lot of shares outstanding for a smaller company. Do you anticipate a share consolidation in the future?
It's certainly not something that we're talking about right now. Obviously, our focus is on creating value and seeing growth in value of those shares that are issued and outstanding, but it's not something that we're currently entertaining.
Fair enough. Thank you. I always love when we find executives, Darren, like yourself, that are relatable, approachable, and speak from the heart about something they're very passionate about. Is there anything else about the company or key highlights you'd like to share before we wrap up today?
No, I really appreciate your time, Mark, and everyone who's listening in. Again, we are just getting started here. We've got a brand new operation. We're ramping up to commercial production. We've got inherent growth over the next 2 to 3 years, both through the implementation of some of the optimizations in the underground and within the mill itself, but also in the grade profile as we move deeper down. Beyond that, we see real near-term opportunities for growth with the resources we've already discovered and that tremendous discovery potential. So it's an exciting time for PureGold, and I'm really excited to be where I am today.
I hear that. Thank you very much for speaking so openly, and I'll thank you for your time, and our viewers are very appreciative as well. And we'll look forward to more conversations as things evolve for the company. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.